Hello, brothers and sisters. I hope you're well. I don't know if you've seen the recent video from the president of South Africa visiting the USA. He had a meeting with the US president, okay, and they were discussing many things. Everything started well until this video you can see below here. So, according to some people, they're actually saying that the president of South Africa was ambushed, was destroyed by Donald Trump and his argument regarding the G side against the Afrikaners. Obviously, they always exaggerate things in order to make people believe that there is a G side going on. Donald Trump is not a stupid individual, and he knows exactly what he's doing. And those that believe that Donald Trump has been fed with the wrong information or whatever, you're out of your mind, because we don't have to look too far to see what's going on in the Middle East and understand that the policy that reigned in the past in South Africa is a policy that if the Afrikaner regime was in power today in South Africa, the President of the United States most probably will be happily supporting, because he's supporting it in the Middle East anyways. And we know which country I'm referring to. So he showed him some videos from Julius Malema, who is the opposition in South Africa. He's not even part of the government, okay? He's just the opposition, but they show him videos of the opposition in which he clearly appears dancing and singing a song regarding the elimination of white farmers, or that's how they translated it. So obviously this was done on purpose by the president of South Africa, which are parts that they keep cutting all the time. He clearly asked, like, you know who this is? He also saw what appears to be funerals, long lines of cars paying the respects for white farmers that have been alive. And then the president asked him, Mr. President of the USA, did I even tell you where that video comes from? Because I don't know where it comes from. So you can see Donald Trump, he also responded saying no, he doesn't know. So how silly is this? You show some video, you don't even know where it comes from. You just showing it like that. Not only that, he goes into saying that there is this G crime going on. Someone in the audience is just shouting, "Oh, why are you denying that there's a G side going on against the Afrikaners?" And then finally, Donald Trump shows some images of white farmers that have been unalive. Okay, this Julius Malema guy is also asking for the confiscation of the lands from these white farmers and the use of it for the benefit of South Africa, which the majority are obviously African black people. Now, if you think about the history of America, you'll understand that the US, it was a settler state. Okay, it was a country that started as settlements, many settlements set up by different countries, different people that were seeking a way out of poverty from Europe, because Europe was in a real bad economic state, wars, and many of them fled. When the news arrived that they found a new continent, many left and they went to a place that it was not empty. There was people living there. Although they call it a discovery, there was already human beings living there. So how are you gonna call something a discovery when there are human beings living there? Anyways, they found these subhumans that walk naked and they were not Christians basically. And they thought of them as animals, people, kids that needed to be taught Christianity and understand basics about the world. How comes that they didn't speak English? Anyways, that was the logic back then. But it's the logic that it was also applied in South Africa. When you have people, human beings, that decide to move to other lands and take them by force and then claim them as theirs. In fact, in the USA, they took lands from the Native Americans And later, they came with a government that they created themselves, and they told the Native Americans that that land belongs to the American government. Therefore, they should sign an agreement now with the American government to give up those lands. Logically makes no sense. And maybe those Native Americans did not have the concept of land in the way the Europeans had it. But they came with a different idea, with a different approach, and also with the barrel of a gun. And they were able to conquer that place and make it theirs. The same thing happened in South Africa, although they claimed that they came to a territory where nobody lived, or there was a specific group of black, light-skinned people that lived there or whatever. But the truth is, the Bantu people have been there for many years. They created this system of segregation called apartheid in the United States. Obviously, you have the Jim Crow laws after the times of slavery. So very similar beginnings, okay? So Donald Trump is very familiar with what happened in South Africa in the past. So what Donald Trump did is basically the same as me taking a video from a KKK meeting, okay, and in which they're talking about unaliving all the blacks in America or enslaving them again, and showing it to Donald Trump and saying, look, actually, this is the policy of your government. This is exactly what you support. And then also let me show you the stats of how many black people in your country die in the hands of the police or in the hands of racist people. So what Trump did is exactly this. Like, how can you use that to create an argument against the country and say that this is the government policy? Imagine I say the government policy is the policy of this group of people that hate black people. Does that make sense to you? So I don't understand how many people are saying that Donald Trump destroyed the president of South Africa when what he did was so childish. They even asked him, do you know where this is from? He said, I don't know. It shows you the level of ignorance, the level of lack of understanding of this topic, apparently. That's what I pitched from the outside. But I'm telling you that he knows what is going on. But sometimes Donald Trump is just so weird. The way he talks, the way he sees things, and how sometimes he doesn't even care about how what he says is going to be seen from the outside by other people that know exactly what is happening. Other people that intellectually they are rich and they can see through the silly things that he's showing on TV. Now, it's important to highlight that the Afrikaners, they're not going through any kind of genocide. That's not what's happening, because the government doesn't have a policy to exterminate these people. These are opportunists that decided to move to the USA with the support of the USA government. Okay, they took the opportunity by using the genocide as an excuse, although there is no evidence whatsoever that is happening. In fact, there are towns in South Africa that only white people are allowed to live and even to enter. And they want to create their own independent state where only white people will live and enter. Okay, so you have this apartheid thing, yeah, which was a crime against humanity in all forms. The amount of unalivings that happened in that country under the hands of the Afrikaners regime was incredible. The British also supported with this. They have the same mentality. They were the same people, basically. After that, the whole world basically asked this to stop because it was too much killing, too much suffering, and it was something that the eyes could not bear any longer. And the regime, all of a sudden, because the Western countries stopped their support, their aid, it just stopped. It completely dissolved. However, those that committed crimes were not prosecuted, and those who suffered the most, they did not get justice. This is something extremely important in order to understand the situation in South Africa today, and the reason why Donald Trump did show these videos, okay, full of ignorance, by the way, because he's trying to blame the government for what is happening. Now, when you do foolish things in the past, such as what happened in South Africa and many other countries, and it's not always black and white issue. Sometimes, like in the case of Rwanda, it's black on black, African on African. It's a class system issue. We have Hutus and Tutsis unaliving each other, okay? Because some were in a better position than others, and some were given more privileges than others. And that's exactly what happened in South Africa with the Afrikaners. When the British colonized that country, they gave the Afrikaners the right to rule over the majority of the Bantu black people and other ethnicities. Let's not forget, there are also Asian people in South Africa, many Chinese, Indians, and they're all categorized as colored people. Okay? Doesn't matter what you are. If you're not white, you're black. Simple as that. Even if the color of your skin wasn't even close to black. Okay? Anyways, that shows you how much damage they did to humanity. And the many people that never got justice, that their parents, the grandfathers, they were unalive by this brutal and illegal regime, basically. And many decided to take the matters by the hands, right? So this is exactly what is happening with this pictures Donald Trump is showing to the president of South Africa, who was really soft, from my view, on his response to Donald Trump. Obviously, you in Donald Trump land, so you want to leave that country alive. Anyways, the fact that he showed these pictures of white farmers being unalive and this so-called funeral with thousands of cars, these are people taking the matters on their own hands. Because the land that these Afrikaners stole in the past and it was granted to them by the British, today it still belongs to them. The majority of the land belongs to the people that invaded and took over that country. Now, if they're not the majority, but they lost political power, now the majority who has political power will want those lands back. That's why there's so much war and problems in this world. All your actions will have consequences. Your actions will have a repercussion on your future children, grandchildren, whatever you've done in the past. Although the past sounds really distant, it will come back to you. And this is exactly what has been happening with many white farmers in South Africa, in Zimbabwe, in Uganda in the past, and in many other countries where you have the white minority controlling the majority of the land, which is completely unjust. It was taken by force. And now, although they're not taking it by force, South Africa is trying to bring a law to distribute these lands to the rightful owners, which are the people of South Africa, which will be the ones benefiting from the agriculture of the country. Obviously, you get these racist arguments about, oh, white people, they're better working the land, blah, 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 which is not true. Africans have been working the lands even before the Europeans came into existence in this world. And although the Europeans had the technologies during the 60s, 70s, and that's the argument they use, if you give this technology to the African, they'll do the same work similar to an European person. It doesn't matter what the color of your skin is or where you come from. What is important is your knowledge and how much you invest in it. Okay? Africans are well known for being good farmers. And this is one of the reasons why many, which were farmers, were taken to what they call the New World in Americas. Because they're the ones who knew the land, who knew how to plant tobacco, how to plant rice, how to plant cotton. And they're the ones helping the owners of these lands in America, okay, these slave owners, to work on the land. So, as you can see here, we have a group of people making up some nonsense thing, okay, about them being G-sides in order to get benefits in the US and to make a political statement and start creating a narrative against the government of South Africa. Now, as I said before, it's important to understand that the history of the USA and South Africa are very similar. The type of abuse the type of discrimination, the type of isolation and marginalization that the black people suffer in the USA under the Jim Crow laws, under slavery, under so many racist systems that are imposed in that country. Okay, in South Africa they have something similar or even worse in some cases. Okay, so as you can see here, we have those that committed the crime. Now they've lost power and they're trying to revert the whole history and blame those that they have subjugated for many years for the fact that now they're losing the power and control over what they used to have and what they thought it belonged to them. So if these individuals did not obtain the land by buying it, or in the rightful or in the lawful way, well, what has stopped people in the future for doing exactly the same thing they did? Obviously, they can complain, but they need to think this. The way you obtain it, give the rights to other people to obtain it exactly in the same way. So, I'm sorry for these Afrikaners that they feel oppressed and they have to leave South Africa. South Africa is a beautiful country. History is history. And as human beings, we conquer, we destroy, we expand countries. This is part of history anyways. But we live in the contemporary world today. And this is what we see in front of our eyes. And we need to stand the realities. South Africa is a country where they manage to live together. Not 100% in peace, but the country is working now. And what this group of Afrikaners, specific ones, are doing is creating more division and bringing external powers, external people into their country's affairs. And you have Elon Musk, who is the son of Afrikaners that came from I think, what was he? He was in Australia or Canada, one of these countries anyways. And he's the one pushing this narrative forward all the way. Okay? So you can see here, again, as I tell people all the time, mainly those brothers and sisters that like to blame Africans for the African problems. Obviously, there are problems that obviously you have to blame it on Africans, all right? But others, mainly at the governmental level, sometimes it's not Africans who do it. Sometimes it's external powers, external influence, and you have people like these ones trying to destroy the internal government, okay, by using so false accusations. So I hope you watch the video. If not, go on Telegram. I did post it there. Okay. I hope you like this video. Please like it, share it, bookmark it, and as always, I'll continue informing you.